Welcome to 210 News.
Hi, my name is Ryan.
And hi, I'm Kylie.
Today we have Logan, Kaya, Molly, myself, and Kylie telling you amazing topics. First, we have Logan talking about yummy chicken nuggets.
Thank you, Ryan. Hi, my name is Logan, and I'm going to talk to you about chicken nuggets. Did you know that you are allowed to see how McDonald's nuggets are made? Did you know at McDonald's they call them McNuggets? Did you know that the most chicken nuggets eaten at one time was 100 nuggets? In 1963, a man named Robert C. Baker made chicken nuggets at Cornell University in New York. Baker made nuggets because of a food storage problem in World War II. All the meat was given to the soldiers, so everyone ate chicken. In 1981, the owner of McDonald's wanted to add something to the menu, so he added breaded meat or chicken nuggets. In 1983, the world went crazy over chicken nuggets. They used to call them chicken sticks, but now they're called chicken nuggets. Here are some fun facts about chicken nuggets. The largest chicken nugget weighed 51.1 pounds. It was 3 by 2 feet. That's the size of a student's desk. You can see how McDonald's nuggets are made from a video called The Birth of the McNugget. This video shows how McNuggets are made from start to finish. Even famous Olympic athletes eat chicken nuggets. And finally, chicken nuggets are one of the top 10 things kids eat. That's all for today. Back to the studio.
Wow, I love chicken nuggets. Now I love them even more. And now we will have Kaya talking about barrel racing.
Thank you, Ryan. Hi, my name is Kaya. I'm going to be telling you about the top 3 famous barrel racers in the world. First, you need to know some things about barrel racing. Barrel racing is one of the top 10 sports in the world. It is a horse riding event. It started in 1931 in Texas. Oh, one more thing I want to tell you about barrel racing. Do you know what WPRA stands for? Well, if you don't know what it means, it stands for Women's Professional Rodeo Association. Barrel racing has one point to it. It's to get your horse to make a sharp, narrow turn all around 3 barrels. It is 90 feet to the first and second barrel. To the third barrel is 105 feet away. If you knock down a barrel, it will be a 5-second penalty. The goal is to make the fastest time all around 3 barrels. Now I can get started. The 3rd best barrel racer in the world is Shelley Morgan. Her hometown is Texas. She has been barrel racing 2013-2016. In one season, she has made $560,000. That is the coolest thing in the world because it's all the horse, the rider, and the training. The 2nd best barrel racer in the world is Jordan Briggs. Her hometown is also Texas. She has been barrel racing since 2009 and she is still going. That is crazy. She has made $100,000 in one season. Also in one season, she has made 55 rodeo counts. Finally, the most famous barrel racer in the world, Haley Kinsel. Her hometown is Texas too. She competed in barrel racing from 2013 to 2016. She has made $114,000 in a WPRA season and over $2 million in her career. Also, in one season, she has made 60 rodeo counts. Thanks for listening. Back to the studio with Ryan and Kylie.
I did not know anything about barrel racing and any facts about it. Next up, we will have Molly talking about the Olympics.
Thank you, Kylie. Hi, my name is Molly, and today I'm going to be talking about the Olympics. Did you know that all the medals that Olympians win are mostly made out of silver? Listen more and learn more about the Olympics. The modern Olympics Games started more than 100 years ago. On April 6, 1896 was the first time they had a modern Olympic game. Before this, the Greek Roman Empire held their own version of Olympics. That was in the 18th century. The first time it was recorded was in 7076 BC. The Olympics have been around for a long time. Since 1994, the Olympics Games have been altered between a summer and winter edition. Originally, the Olympic Games were staged in Athens, Greece, and Greek city-states. Each edition of the Olympic Games is organized by each host. This winter's Olympics 2022 were in Beijing, China. Do you know how much the Olympics cost? In 2014, Games in Sochi cost at least $50 billion. In 2016, it costed $13.1 billion. Also in 2022, it cost $15.4 billion. This year, it will cost $8.8 billion. The cheapest cost of the Olympics was $282 million in Tokyo in 1964. That's a lot of money for all the Olympics. Who do you think pays all of that? There are many famous players of the Olympics. First, we have Michael Phelps, a professional swimmer. Michael started Olympics when he was 15. Since then, he won 22 medals. Another famous player is Usain Bolt. He smashed the world's record for 100-meter and 200-meter as a runner. Bolt won a triple Olympic gold medal at both 2012 and 2018 Games. Next we have Claire Hodges, a skater. She won 2 Olympic medals in 1996 and won an Olympic gold medal at 500-meter speed skating at the 2006 Olympics. Would you want to be a famous Olympian? Why were a few of the Olympic Games canceled? In 1916, 1940, and 1944, the Olympic Games were canceled. The 1916-1940 Olympic Games were canceled due to war. The 1944 Tokyo Game was described as canceled. That was not technically true, but it was canceled because of issues with impact in Japan and voluntarily extinguished to host games. Still, that is not too many games compared to all the games that have been done. There is so much more that you can learn about the Olympics. Would you ever want to join? That's all. Back to you in the studio with Kylie and Ryan.
I have never been to the Olympics before and knew any of the facts about it. Now we will have Ryan with the topic, the brain.
Thank you, Kylie. I'm going to talk about the human brain. First, let's talk about the parts of the brain. The brain has many parts, but we are just going to talk about the 5 main parts. Those parts are the cerebrum, cerebellum, brainstem, pituitary gland, and hypothalamus. Next, I'm going to tell you how the brain works. No 2 parts have the same job, but they all work together. For example, the brainstem and the limbic system. The brainstem controls blood pressure and heart rate. The limbic system controls hunger and emotions, 2 totally different parts, but if one shuts down, the other won't work properly. Lastly, I'm going to tell you some facts about the brain. A lot of people have probably watched movies that say people only use 10% of their brain, but that actually is not true. Most people use a lot more. And the brain has about 1 billion brain cells. Even though it has 1 billion brain cells, it cannot feel pain. Clearly, the brain is a very important part of the body. Your body needs the brain. Back to you at the studio.
Wow, I never knew that the brain had over 1 billion brain cells.
Now we will have Kylie with the topic New York.
Thank you, Ryan. Did you know in New York City there are more than 8 million people that live there? That means 1 in every 38 people in the United States call New York City home. Also, a lot of people speak different languages. 800 languages are spoken in New York City. This means New York City speaks the most languages in the world. 4 in 10 households speak languages other than English. Next are the famous people. The famous people that live in New York City are Lady Gaga, Chris North, Nicholas Kidman, Samuel Jackson, John Oliver, and many more. That means there are movie stars and TV actors and actresses. Next, I'll be talking about the Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank has the largest gold storage in the world. The vault is 80 feet below street level and contains $90 billion in gold. In 2014, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York City, FRBNY, reported over $2.7 trillion in total assets. Do you want to travel to New York City now after me telling you all about it? Now you have more places to visit while you are there. Now back to the studio.
Wow, I never knew anything about the Reserve Bank, and now I do. Thanks
for watching 210 News.
Welcome to Kids Fox News. I'm Andre.
And I'm Emma. Me and Andre will be your introducers. We have Eden, Jason, Addison, Dana, Emma, and Andre. First, we have Eden talking about golden retrievers.
Thanks, Emma. Hi, my name is Eden. I'm going to tell you some fun facts about golden retrievers. First of all, golden retrievers have strong bodies with a long coat that is yellow or gold color. The person who created the name golden retrievers was Tweedmouth in Scotland. The part golden in their name refers to how good they are to people and all the things they can do. The retriever part of the name is because they love to fetch things. When golden retrievers were first discovered, they were mostly used for hunting. Another fact about golden retrievers is they are smart, calm, loving, athletic, and eager to please. Golden retrievers are also very easy to train. They also really love people, so they get very sad when they're left alone too long. Some of these dogs can learn up to 100 commands. They also live up to 10 to 12 years old and weigh 50 to 75 pounds. When they get older, their fur start to turn white. Their fur is dense and waterproof. Golden retrievers also love water and swimming. Now let's talk about some fun facts about golden retrievers. First, they are one of the smartest dogs in the world. Next, they're used as guard dogs for the blind, search and rescue dogs, hearing dogs for the deaf, and hunting dogs because they're very good at smelling things. They're great service dogs, but not good guard dogs because they're too friendly. They star in a lot of movies as well, like Air Bud or Homeward Bound. There you have it, golden retriever fun facts. Back to you in the studio.
Wow, I never knew that golden retrievers were one of the smartest dogs in the world.
Next up we have Jason talking about how the dew tour was invented and how fun it is.
Thanks guys. Did you know that only every 2 years a dew tour happens? The dew tour is a competition of skateboarding, skiing, and snowboarding sponsored by Mountain Dew. This year's contestants are Danny Davis, Julia Marino, Red Gerard, Chloe Kim, Jake Pates, Hendrik Harlow, Alex Ferreira, and Johan Kili. I know, a lot of people, right? In the parks, there are handrails, box rails, jumps, and other obstacles of a challenge. Some of these jumps are quite intimidating. Some are 20 feet high and 40 feet long. Hendrik Harlow has 8 gold medals and 5 silver medals. Danny Davis has 2 gold and 1 silver, and Chloe Kim, who has 3 gold medals. The competition is held on Copper Mountain, Colorado, the home of skiing. Due to the pandemic, the 2020 Dew Tour was moved to 2021, and the next one is set to be held in 2023, and every other year after that. Some of these tricks are amazing, like the quad cork, which is a total of 6 spins, or the triple rodeo, which is 1400 degrees and 3 flips. Oh, and you can't forget the triple misty, which is a 360-degree rotation and 3 flips. If you get to see one of these Dew Tours, you might see some of these tricks. Back to you in the studio.
Wow, I actually never knew that the Dew Tour was held in Colorado.
Next up, we have Addison with all about cheetahs.
Thanks, Andre and Emma. Did you know that cheetahs are very fast and strong? Cheetahs are found in Africa. They live or are found in open grasslands. Cheetahs can blend into tall grass because of their colors. That is where you can find cheetahs. Cheetahs can live for a long time if they are healthy. They can live up to 10 to 15 years and even 20 years of age while in captivity. And that is a very long time for cheetahs, but a short life for us humans. Some cheetahs get shot or are killed by hunters and end up not living for a long time. Cheetahs can run like a rapid fire. A cheetah can run up to 100 kilometers per hour, but they can also go 65 miles per hour. Both of those are super fast because think of how fast you go on a highway. You mostly only go in the 50s or 60s. A typical race lasts between 20 and 60 seconds long. Do you think that is super fast and amazing? What do you think cheetahs can eat? Can eat many things, including gazelles, wildebeest, impalas, rabbits, birds, hares, and way more. Cheetahs need to eat a lot of food just like us humans do. That's what cheetahs mostly eat, but they eat a lot more. Did you know that a cheetah is the only animal that is capable of turning in midair while sprinting? Did you like learning about a lot of facts about cheetahs? Do you think cheetahs are cool and talented? Cheetahs have a lot of talent in running because they are super strong. Thank you, Emma and Andre. Back to you in the studio.
Wow, I didn't know that cheetahs were capable of turning in midair while sprinting.
Now we got Dana talking about how the NFL was invented.
Thanks, Andre. Can you believe that one of the most popular sports in the world was once nothing? That famous sport is football, and it was created in 1920. You need a lot of equipment in football, but the main thing you need is a helmet. Without helmets, players would die on the field because if someone hits you too hard in the head, they could kill you. You also need shoulder pads just in case if you get hit in the shoulder. Cleats and a mouth guard and a jersey so you can tell what team you're on. In football, rules are really important and complicated. Like one of the rules is if you wear anything like long socks, cleats, arm sleeves, they have to be the same color as your team colors. And you can't use any of the things on the field like cameras and goalposts or anything like that. And there's way more rules than that. There are some really popular football players, and here are some of them that are the most popular, like Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Tyreek Hill, and Lamar Jackson, and way, way more out there. Can you believe football was nothing, and now is so big of a sport? That is just remarkable and incredible. Back to you guys at the studio.
I actually never knew that the NFL was founded on September 17th, 1920. Next up, we have one of our anchors talking about the sport of softball.
Have you ever wanted to learn about softball but never played it? If so, then keep listening. Softball was invented in 1887 at a boat club in Chicago. At first, they named it indoor softball. Instead of normal softball gloves, they used folded up boxing gloves. Back then, there were only 19 rules. They started using these rules in 1889. Normal gear in softball is a bat and glove, but now we use cleats, softball gloves, bats, face shields, and batting helmets. Cleats can be pretty cheap, and girls normally wear long socks. Us softball players must wear shields or face masks since softballs are way bigger than baseballs. Some teams will supply gear for free. If you're a travel team, you'll have matching gear as your team. In softball, you have 2 teams of 9. Each team tries to get more points than the other team. There are also things called strikes. Strikes are between the knees and the shoulders. If you are hit there, you got a strike. If you get 3 strikes, you're out. If you are batting, you can either stand on the left or the right side of the base. If the pitcher throws over your head or under your knees, that's an automatic ball. But if you get hit, it's an automatic walk. You're also out if a baseman tags you or a pitcher does. There are many different softball players, but here are some famous ones. Lauren Chamberlain is an infielder that is 5'9". Her hometown is Trabuco Canyon in California. Her home team is the Firecrackers. Alicia Ocasio is one of the fastest pitchers ever. Ranked number 2 by National Pro Fast Pitch. Well, now that you know everything about softball, why don't you try? Now back to you guys in the studio.
Wow, I never knew that they started using rules in softball in 1889.
Finally, we have Andre talking about the life of Colin Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick believed in one important thing, and he changed the entire NFL in one movement. Colin Kaepernick didn't have a normal life like us. He had a more difficult life than us. Colin Kaepernick was born on November 3rd, 1987 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Colin was taken care of by his adoptive parents in Turlock, California. He attended Pittman High School, where he played 3 sports: basketball, baseball, and football. He was an excellent pitcher and could have gone to the MLB draft, but he refused so he can continue his career in football. He was rejected by multiple colleges, but in the end, the University of Nevada finally accepted him. His life was hard and all, but what he accomplished was something bigger than himself. Colin has always wanted to play in the NFL, but he had to work hard to get the starting job. In 2008 and 2010, Colin received the Western Athletic Conference Offensive Player of the Year. Also, in 2011, he got drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. During his rookie year, he didn't have that much playing time. He only played 3 games in which he had a total of 35 yards thrown. In 2012 and 2013, Colin led the 49ers to the playoffs, and in 2012, he led the 49ers to the Super Bowl for the first time in 18 years. His stats and records are incredible, but without hard work, he would have never got there. The most passing yards he had in one season was in 2014, and he had 3,369 completed yards. Throughout his entire career, he had a total of 12,274 passing yards. Colin was a player that loved to scramble, and most of his touchdowns were from running with the ball. Again, in 2014, he had the most rushing yards, with 639 yards that year. In his 6th-season career, he had a total of 2,300 rushing yards. Colin has always wanted all people to have equal rights, and that's what he fought for. Colin hated when he saw other people treating people of other races unfairly. He wanted a country that respects everybody. In 2016, Colin had a game against the Los Angeles Chargers. At the beginning of the game, Colin expressed his views once again, and because of his actions, he got kicked out of the NFL. In 2021, Colin made a documentary called Colin in Black and White, which is all about racial discrimination in his childhood. Colin always wanted to play in the NFL, but what faced him there, he could never forgive. Even though he got kicked out of the NFL, he changed the league forever.
Wow, I never knew that Colin did so much outside of the NFL.
Thanks for watching Kids Fox News. See you next time.
Welcome to Electric News. I'm Alana.
And I'm Andrew.
Brianna, Aiden J, Julia, Aiden M, Andrew and I will be talking about some very interesting facts about our topics. First, we have Brianna and her amazing information about bears.
Thank you, Alana. Did you know that grizzly bears are the most ferocious bears out of all the different types of bears in the world? Bears are beautiful but beastly creatures. They are speedy and can move up to 35 miles per hour. They can live between 20 and 30 years, but it depends on the type of bear. They have 2 layers of fur. The shorter layer of fur is for making sure none of these bears are getting cold. The second layer of fur is for making sure there is no water. Truly, bears and their cubs are made out to be very well protected. Bears are very hungry animals. The typical diet of a bear ranges between plants and animals to fish and berries. Bears don't only eat that, there are many other things they eat too. In reality, bears are not really picky eaters. Although you're scared when face to face with a bear, there are ways to get out of these situations. There's a common problem we have with bears. What happens if it's hungry and wants to eat me? That leads us into our next topic. A few ways to get out of scary moments like this is to bang pots and pans and to examine bear posture. Bears are remarkable, but sometimes it's best to stay away and leave them be. Truly, these animals are incredible and should be noticed more. So before I end, here are some fun facts about bears. Bears are beastly animals, and the most ferocious bear is a grizzly bear. Bears are dog-like carnivores, and their true and scientific name is ursidae, spelled U-R-S-I-D-A-E. You can find bears in forests, tundras, and the biggest population of bears is spread throughout North America, South America, Asia, and Europe. I hope some of these facts helped you understand bears more and be able to be safe around them. Now back to you at the studio.
Wow, I did not know bear's scientific name is Ursidae. Next up we have Aiden J talking about rugby.
Thank you, Andrew. Have you ever played rugby before? Well, I'll tell you more about it. Here are all the rugby teams. There are many different teams around the world, such as Springboks, All Blacks, Red and Whites, Ireland Rugby Union Team, Blues, Dragons, Wallabies, Scotland National Rugby Team, the Brave Blossoms, and Las Pumas. Also, did you know that New Zealand has the most titles? Another thing is that the rugby team with the most losses is France. There are also lots of places that play rugby, and some are unexpected. Here are the places that play rugby: Scotland, Ireland, England, France, Japan, Australia, Argentina, New Zealand, South Africa. Those are all the places that play rugby. Also, here's some history about rugby. Rugby is said to have originated at Rugby School in Worcestershire, England, in 1823. During a game of football, William Wood Elys decided to pick up a VPA ball and go with it. Although there is very little evidence to support this theory, the Rugby World Cup trophy is now named after William Wood Elys. Now here are the top 5 rugby players. The 5th best player in rugby is David Campies. He is widely considered as the best winger and fullback. The 4th best player in rugby is Brian O'Driscoll. He plays outside center in rugby. The 3rd best player is Michael Jones. He plays outside flanker. Also, he is the 3rd best all-black player. The 2nd best player is Dan Carter. He plays center and he has won 3-year award 3 times. 1st best player is Richie McCaw. He plays offside flanker. He is also the first person to reach 100 caps and the first ever rugby union to win 100 tests. I hope you enjoyed my history, the teams, the players, and locations of rugby. Thank you. Now back to the studio.
I did not know there were that many rugby teams in the world. Next up we have Julia talking about Violet Jessup.
Did you know that White Star Line didn't just make the Titanic, but 2 other ships, the Olympic and Britannic too? You knew that Titanic crashed, but did you know that Olympic and Britannic crashed too? Did you know that one person lived through all of White Star Line's cursed ships? Violet Jessup was born in Argentina, and she was Irish. At a young age, she got deadly tuberculosis. Doctors said that she would die, but somehow she lived and went on. After her dad died, they moved to England, and her mom worked on a ship. Well, Violet attended a convent school. Then her mom got ill, so Violet stepped in and became a stewardess like her mom. At the age of 21, she got a job on the mail ship and was hired by White Star Line to work in the Majestic, then on the Olympic. Violet was very excited to be working on the Olympic. There were Americans on the ship and they treated her much nicer. But luck turned its head in 1911 when the Olympic had a run-in with HMS Hawke, which unfortunately was a warship designed to ram and sink bigger ships. The Olympic was planned to slide past HMS Hawke, but something went wrong, and the HMS Hawke rammed into the Olympic. Both ships suffered exclusive damage. Even though the Olympic was hit below waterline, Olympic did not sink, nor did the HMS Hawke. Everyone got off without harm. Luck was on Violet's side on the Olympic because it did not sink. Luck really turned its head on the Titanic. We all know how this one ends. When the Titanic crashes into an iceberg and more than 1,500 people died. When Violet was hired to work on the Titanic, she was unsure. Family and friends heavily persuaded her to go. So when Violet boarded the Titanic, when the Titanic struck an iceberg, Violet was ordered on deck to show non-English speaking people what to do. Later that night, she boarded her own lifeboat, Lifeboat 16. Right before Lifeboat 16 was lowered, someone handed her a baby to keep safe. Then again, she made it safely back to the Carpathia. On the Carpathia, someone snatched the baby without even saying thank you. Violet was too cold and tired to think that was weird. You would have thought by now that she would know not to put a toe on another ship. No, in fact, she was hired to work in the Britannic in the midst of World War I as a stewardess. When Britannic was hit, it only took 57 minutes for it to sink. No one really knows what hit Britannic. Could be a mine or a torpedo, but no one is sure. One bad thing is when Britannic sank, no one bothered to shut off the propellers. So some lifeboats turned into death boats as the propellers were sucking the boats underwater and killing the people inside. Though only 30 people were killed in the sinking of the Britannic, the sinking was so fast that Violet had no time to board a lifeboat and had to jump off. Violet swam to a lifeboat and got on. Then the propellers started to suck the boat closer. So having no choice, Violet jumped off. The propellers were too strong and she got sucked underwater, and she hit her head on the bottom of the Britannic, but was able to get to another lifeboat in time. For a long time after that, Violet suffered from bad headaches. When she went to a doctor, the doc told her she had fractured her skull and was very lucky to survive. After Violet retired at 61, 1950, she spent the rest of her life doing things she loved, like gardening and raising chickens. She was nicknamed Miss Unsinkable for obvious reasons. A while after her retirement, she got a call. There was a woman on the other end. The woman asked if she had saved a baby on the Titanic. Violet said yes. The woman laughed and said that was her and hung up. Violet told her friend about the call. The friend said it must be some kids playing a trick. But Violet had never told anyone about saving the baby. Old records say the only child in her lifeboat was a boy, and the boy was saved by another passenger. Still today, no one knows who the baby is. There are still many mysteries on these 3 shipwrecks, but all we know is that in the future, things will be much safer. Although it's fun to learn about people like Violet Jessup, we hope that there'll never be another Violet again. Back to the studio!
Wow, I never knew someone could survive that many shipwrecks. Next up we have Aiden and Evan talking about hockey.
Thanks, hi, I'm Aiden and I'm going to tell you about hockey. First, about NHL history, NHL teams, famous NHL players such as Bobby Orr and Wayne Gretzky. Hi, hockey was first played in the 19th century in Canada. It was a sport played on natural and artificial ice. The most popular places are Canada, United States, Switzerland, Russia, Finland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Belarus, Ukraine. At the end of the year, the Stanley Cup is awarded to the best of 7 series. The Stanley Cup has over 200 names on it. There are 32 NHL teams, and I'm going to list 6 teams. 1909, Montreal Canadiens. 1917, Toronto Maple Leafs. 1926, Alberta Red Wings. 1926, Chicago Blackhawks. 1924, Boston Bruins. And last but not least, 1926, New York Rangers. Bobby Orr played for the NHL for 12 seasons, 10 with the Boston Bruins and 2 with the Chicago Blackhawks. Bobby Orr was born on March 26, 1948 in Canada. He scored the game-winning goal against St. Louis Blues to win the Stanley Cup. Wayne Gretzky was one of the world's greatest hockey players. His nickname was the Great One. He played much of his career with the Edmonton Oilers. He was born on January 26, 1961. Thanks, Andrew. Back to you in the studio.
Wow, I did not know hockey was played all over the world.
Next up, we have Alana talking about her interesting facts about elephants.
Thank you. Do you know what the largest animal on land is? If you said elephants, you are correct. Elephants are very unique and special, but that is not always a good thing because of illegal ivory trade. Illegal ivory trade is where people illegally kill or take elephants and sell them or their tusks. It is very harmful, but is often found. In recent years, a minimum of 20,000 elephants have been harmed or killed for tusks and as pets or circus animals, which cage the elephants and use harmful tools to make them practice skills and tricks. Some people may also kill or take the adult elephants and leave the calf with no protection. Ivory trade is illegal, dangerous, and cruel to elephants and their calves. Elephants may be huge, but they are often peaceful animals. They live in groups called herds to protect themselves and their calves. Calves are baby elephants. Elephants are gentle and kind. Unless they need to protect themselves, then they get ferocious. Elephants are often happy, but recently because of the ivory trade and hunting, it leaves them depressed and lonely. You should stay away from elephants for yours and their sake, even if they are peaceful, because they could be dangerous, so you could accidentally harm them. Elephants are huge, but they still eat healthy. They are herbivores, which mean they don't consume meat of any kind. Elephants eat grass, plants, and fruits. Some elephants even eat tree bark too. Each elephant needs to consume about 300 pounds of food in one day. Elephants cannot be judged by their size because they still eat healthy. Elephants live in all different places on Earth. Some of these places include Asia, Africa, and North America. Elephants live in rainforests, wooded savannas, some semi-deserts, and grasslands. They live in large areas because it is easier to find food and water to survive. Rainforest deserts, you can often find elephants easily. Elephants are the largest animal living on land. They weigh 4 to 6 tons and their length is between 18 and 24 feet long. Elephants come in brown and gray with a long nose, huge ears, thick legs, and 2 big tusks. They have a very unique look, but all elephants are at least a little bit different in their way, just like humans. The savanna, forest, Asian, African, and more types of elephants are all different. There are a lot of types of elephants. There's the savanna elephant, the forest elephant, the Asian elephant, the African elephant, and lots more roaming the earth. Elephants are not just their size, they are very interesting creatures. Back to you at the studio.
Wow, I did not know illegal ivory trade was that harmful.
Next up, we have Andrew talking about J.C. Jackson.
One of the star corners in the NFL has had a very interesting life. His name is J.C. Jackson. Growing up, J.C. went to Immokalee High School in Florida. He played wide receiver there. When things were on the good side for J.C., he was soon involved with an armed robbery, facing 4 first-degree felonies. If convicted, he would have faced up to 10 years or life in prison. The charges were soon dropped. These were some of J.C.'s childhood struggles. J.C. wasn't always that superstar player. He had to deal with college. J.C. went to Riverside Community College, where he played defensive back and wide receiver. Later on, J.C. would transfer to Maryland University. After playing at Maryland, he got prepared for the 2018 NFL Draft in Texas. During the draft, he didn't get called on once. After all, J.C. still made a team. That team was the New England Patriots. He was an undrafted free agent. J.C.'s appearance is great for a defensive back. He is 6'1", 198 pounds, and 26 years old. J.C. was born on November 17, 1995. J.C. wore number 27 for New England. J.C. in his first 4 years have had some very impressive stats. He has, in 2021, 8 interceptions, 44 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 23 passes defended. His career stats are also great. 62 games played, 25 interceptions, 53 passes defended, 1 touchdown, 129 solo tackles, 1 fumble, 1 kick blocked, and 2 fumbles recovered. J.C.'s 25th career interception ties a record for most interceptions in the first 4 years of a player's career. If J.C. keeps it up, he will soon be a Hall of Fame lock. J.C. is a stud. In just 4 years, he is his top 3 cornerback and is up there with Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Terrell Jr. J.C. is very successful and is going places in the NFL. By the time this is recorded, J.C. Jackson is now on the LA Chargers.
Wow, I never knew he went undrafted. That's all for Electric News. I hope you learned something new.
Welcome to News 55.
I'm Karina.
And I'm Anthony.
Today we have Andrew W., London, Anthony, Hannah, and Karina.
First we have Andrew W. talking about Tom Brady.
Who is the GOAT? Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., the greatest of all time. He was born on August 3rd in California in a small town outside of San Francisco. Brady went to high school there and college at the University of Michigan. Back then, his nickname was Tom Terrific. Tom Brady played quarterback for the New England Patriots for 20 years. He was drafted as a 6th-round pick in the 2000. Brady chose number 12 and led the Patriots to the first Super Bowl win. This same year, he continued to win 5 Super Bowls while playing with the Patriots. In 2020, Brady left the Patriots and went to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Over the years, Tom Brady has set several records. He played quarterback for 22 years. That's a long time. Tom is also the first player to win a Super Bowl in the AFC and the NFC. He has won 7 Super Bowls and was voted the most valued player 3 times. Tom Brady's net worth is about $250 million. He also earned a lot more from making endorsements. In January of this year, Tom Brady announced his retirement from football at 44. He said he was ready to spend more time with his family, but a month later, Tom announced that he changed his mind and he's coming back to play football with the Bucs. Back to you in the studio.
I had no idea that Tom Brady broke so many records.
Next we have London, talking about London.
Did you know there are 140 museums in London? There are many locations to visit in London. There are the Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, and the London Eye. The Big Ben is very popular in London. Next I will be talking about the facts in London. London is a double capital of England and the United Kingdom. London is larger than most other cities. It is 600 square miles. Let's talk about the weather in London. The coldest month of the year for them is February. Also, there's a lot of cloudy skies and rain most of the time. Lastly, I'm going to be talking about famous people you might know that live in London or grew up in London. First, there was Simon Cowell. You might know him from American's Got Talent. He used to live in London. Also, Gordon Ramsay owns a restaurant in London. Maybe you want to travel to London after reading this. Thanks, Karina. Back to you in the studio.
Whoa, London has over 140 museums.
This next one is by me about Satya Nadella. Satya Nadella was born in Hyderabad, India in 1967. He went to school at Mangalore University and studied electrical engineering. Then in 1990, he got a master's degree in computer science at the University of Wisconsin. At Milwaukee, he went to go work at Sun Microsystems, Inc. As a member of its technology staff, he was lured away from Sun to go work at Microsoft in 1992. He was helping develop the Windows NT, which was aimed mainly at business users for company work. As a member of its technology staff, as Nadella spent more time at Microsoft, he rose through the ranks more and more until eventually in 1999, he was the vice president of Microsoft's B-Central Small Business Service. Then 2 years later, he became the president of Microsoft Business Solutions. Then in 2007, he became the senior vice president of research and development for the company's online services division. And he later served as the president of Microsoft Server and Tools business, which annually generated some $19 billion in revenue. Nadella was also executive vice president in charge of the company's cloud computing company platform, which provided the infrastructure for such Microsoft offerings such as the online search engine Bing and the Xbox Live broadband network and the Office's 365 subscription-based services. Then finally, on February 4th, 2014, Nadella became CEO of Microsoft. He was the third person to hold the office in the company's nearly 40-year history. That is the life of Satya Nadella. Back to you at the studio, Karina.
Wow, Satya Nadella was only the third person to become president of Microsoft in 40 years.
Now we have Hannah talking about jaguars.
Have you ever wondered about jaguars? What they do, eat, or where do they live? Here are some answers. Jaguars live in American continents. They live in Texas, California, New Mexico, United States, Africa, and Asia. Black jaguars live in South America. Many of them live in the Amazon rainforest. They like to live in wet lowlands and in small caves. They make their homes out of leaves, rotten trees, and other soft materials. They live alone. They do not like other animals coming into their den. Jaguars are all over the world in their caves. Jaguars eat a lot of meat. They eat more than 80 different kinds of species. Cows, rodents, deer, birds, fishes, turtles, and more. Their favorites are fishes and iguanas, turtles, and other kinds of rodents. Jaguars are not picky of what they eat at all. Jaguars mate in any season. Male and female jaguars only stay together during the mating and pregnancy season. After 95 to 100 days, they have 1 to 4 baby cubs, but normally they have 2 cubs. Newborns weigh about 1 1/2 to 2 pounds. The male only stays with them for 4 years.
The male will teach them how to defend themselves while the female gives them food. They will hunt with their mother during the first 2 years. Baby cubs need to live when they are alone. Humans are the main threat to jaguars. Humans hunt them for their fur and because they kill the farmer's sheep and cow. In the 60s and 70s, around 8,000 jaguars were killed each year. The numbers had declined over the last 100 years because humans burned down their home. It is illegal to hunt them, but humans still hunt them. So don't hunt them and don't burn down their homes. Jaguars are amazing wildcats. They're just trying to protect their cubs and their home. Thank you, Anthony. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Hannah. Now I know jaguars eat almost anything.
Finally, we have me talking about boxer dogs. Did you know that boxers were developed in the 19th century by George Ault? No? Well, you're going to learn about that and much more. Boxers were developed in the 19th century by George Ault, as mentioned before. Here's more info. They're originally from Germany and were bred for working and hunting. Also, boxers helped out in slaughterhouses because they calmed down the animals. Because of this, boxers were called butcher's helpers. Boxers need a lot of attention so they don't become mischievous, but also if they don't get enough exercise, they will find other ways to let out all their energy, like tearing up pillows and running around the house super fast, breaking stuff, called the zoomies. All of these are reasons why boxers need an owner who can take care of them and have some free time to play and go on walks. The way boxers act is when they are playing, they growl. They rarely bark, but when they do, that means something is wrong or they just don't know what it is, and whatever it may be spooks them a little bit. Boxers are very protective of babies, kids, and even adults. They are energetic and crazy until they are about 5 years old. Sometimes they calm down sooner, sometimes later. It all depends on your boxer. Overall, even when they're old, they're still pretty playful, just not as much as when they were maybe 2 or 3. Boxers have a squished-in face, which causes an underbite sometimes, and to have a small, short snout. They also have floppy ears. Their coat or fur colors are fawn, brindle, white, brown, and usually have white spots or patches on them. White boxers are not called albino, it's just the color of their fur. Now you know a lot about boxers. I encourage you to keep researching and learn more about boxer dogs. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks for watching News 55.